We're tracking a new hurricane, Hurricane Hilary in the eastern Pacific, just west of Mexico. This thing is headed north, right towards California. We're going to talk about the impacts, how much rain's headed our way. Why is this even happening? This is rare. We're going to talk about the meteorology behind this storm and why it's going where it's going. But let's take a closer look at the storm right now. Center of circulation, west of Mexico, headed west-northwest, 14 miles per hour. You're looking at the winds, 110. That is a strong Category 2 storm at the time of this recording. Category 3 starts at 111, so we're just on the edge. It's likely to hit Category 3 strength into Thursday night, Friday morning, and maybe even to a Category 4 strength. But when you're looking at this storm, it's pretty healthy. When you see all the rain bands fairly equal on all sides, you're always going to have a little bit more on the south side because you're pulling in moisture from the south. But when you're looking especially to the north, you know, the rain bands aren't that broken up. This thing is showing some health. There's not a lot of dry air that it's moving into right now. So this thing will continue to be able to strengthen. If it doesn't have any winds to try to knock it off, it'll be able to grow. It'll be able to get deeper in its low pressure. The eye wall will also be able to get deeper. Notice these pinks and kind of the dark reds, even a little bit of a purple color. Notice how over time, it's not just on the south and east side, it's finally starting to wrap around the whole eye center there. And that's a sign of strengthening. It'll continue to move north the next several days, getting closer to California. Here's the track, Category 2 right now, probably by early Friday morning, Category 3. We could even see Category 4 strength Friday midday and lasting into Saturday. But let's move this to the north. It gets very close to the Baja California, just west of Cabo, but then it heads right towards the western shores of Mexico and is likely to make a landfall right there in northwest Mexico or right into Los Angeles or San Diego. But once that takes place, it's likely not to be a hurricane anymore. It's probably going to have closer to 60-mile-per-hour winds. And that timing, you see the timing a little bit farther north of Los Angeles right there at 11 o'clock on Monday Pacific time. But we'll probably come into San Diego and Los Angeles, at least the heart of the storm, closer to about Monday morning. Monday right around 4 or 5 a.m. So just before sunrise is when this thing is likely to make landfall. We're not exactly sure if it maybe makes landfall towards Tijuana, maybe San Diego, Los Angeles, and maybe even back west towards Santa Barbara. But then it's going to move north over a lot of the deserts, and it could cause a lot of problems, a lot of heavy rain, and a lot of mudslides could take place across southern and western California. And then it continues to move north into parts of Nevada, maybe towards Reno. So definitely a very powerful storm system. This doesn't happen very often. In fact, the last time this happened was 1939. We'll take a closer look at that. But let's take a look at the rain coming in. This is Saturday. In the evening, the rain bands start to move in, and this is a multi-rain event. It's able to pull in a lot of moisture from the eastern Pacific. You see those plumes just going right over California. Here's Los Angeles. We've got San Diego. We've got Death Valley about in here. The heaviest bands start to come in Sunday night, and they'll last into Monday morning. That's when the heart of the storm is hitting us. Once this thing wraps up, it's going to be about Monday afternoon, but then all the rain will have fallen. But that's several hours of heavy rain. But I think the worst timing for the best or the worst mudslide activity, the peak of that mudslide activity will probably be Monday morning into Monday midday when that heavy rain is occurring, and then it will quickly wrap up. But it's the onset. You get rain for several hours, lighter rain, but then you wet everything down, and then the heavy rain comes in, and then you're talking about mudslides. So how much rain are we talking about? It's just looking at some early model projections. We're talking about over an inch or two for many of the cities, but it's really this corridor that's just north and east of Los Angeles. There towards Ridge Crest and then towards the Mojave National Preserve and then north towards Death Valley National Park, where in this orange color we're talking 4, 5, maybe even up to 6 inches of rainfall. It's kind of unheard of. But just eastbound, Las Vegas, we're kind of on the edge. We may pick up almost 2 inches. We're probably going to pick up over 2 inches in San Diego, maybe a little bit less in Los Angeles. But these numbers will fluctuate because we're not exactly sure if this takes a little bit more an easterly path or more of a westerly path. If we can get this thing to move a little bit farther west, we're going to have to upgrade these rainfall totals in Los Angeles and San Diego to closer to 2.5 to 3, 3.5, maybe even 4 inches. And then we'll also move Big Pine and Bakersfield up too. I think the western shores towards San Jose and San Francisco, we're not expecting a lot. There could be a few light sprinkles, but if this thing moves west, we could talk about a couple tenths of an inch. But this is some serious rains headed towards the desert southwest. If this thing moves farther eastbound, this will be something that impacts more extreme southeast California as you're going over the Colorado River Reservation and then towards Flagstaff and Phoenix. Right now, we're kind of on the edge, so it's still a lot of questions on the path of the heaviest rain. Now let's get into why is this even happening and what is the historical context on this tropical storm. So right now it's a hurricane. It could get to tropical category 4 status. It won't stay that way coming into California. Waters are too cold. That'll help to suffocate the storm. But when you had a category 4 storm headed towards the shores, it's going to take a lot for it to finally slow down and to disintegrate. It doesn't happen instantly. It's kind of like a train. It takes a while to stop the train. But just to put this in perspective, the last time we had a tropical storm in Southern California was 1939. That was 84 years ago, September 25th. That was called the Long Beach tropical storm. It had wind gusts of about 65 miles per hour. We're expecting wind speed between 60 to 65 for those gusts. In today's dollars, it was $42 million in damage. And then just after that storm, Los Angeles got its first Weather Bureau office. The government came right in, started building one. It was ready by February 1940 because it just caught a lot of folks off guard. We don't usually get tropical systems in Southern California. We're about to get another one. Why is this even happening? Has to do with the jet stream pattern and the location of a new heat dome. Right now, we're talking about some serious heat once again in the desert Southwest. You see the jet stream separating cooler air from warmer air. This high pressure is going to move farther east, but it's also going to move eventually farther to the north too. It takes a swing into Texas, but over time it starts to move a little bit farther north, probably centralizing just outside of St. Louis. But look what happens to the jet stream. It moves so far north, but the western end has to drag off to the south. This creates a highway for this storm to just get picked up and come right into Southern California. Because this dome of heat is moving so far north and east, is actually pulling everything for the jet stream farther to the east as well. So once we get the storm about here, it's going to be picked up by the jet and just carried right into California. We don't get storms very often to the west coast just because the waters are a lot colder. If you've been on vacation, a lot colder water here than waters in the Gulf and the Atlantic. But plus, a lot of times we have a high pressure this time of year that's kind of blocking storms from coming in because it's moved so far east, and it's going to cause probably some more record highs for heat in the central U.S. It's helping the western U.S. possibly get their first tropical storm in 84 years.